Streaming now, this is the Wood TV Live Desk.
And good afternoon, everyone. Phil Penarski here with the Wood TV Live Desk. Hope you're all having a great start to your Wednesday. News 8 digital reporter Matt Jaworowski is here like he is every Wednesday. Matt, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Phil. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's been kind of a weird little week so far. You know, last week you were here on every day, and so this feels like a mini reunion to finally have you back on the live desk a little bit. And you actually have a very interesting story that we're going to be talking about. It's your Sunday story, and it deals with the state flag of Michigan and the push to potentially change it. Before we get started, Matt, though, there's obviously a lot of opinions that go into making a state flag, changing a state flag. So we want to hear from everybody watching. If you're watching us on Facebook, we want to hear from you. Do you like the Michigan state flag? Would you change it? Do you have any ideas on a potential change? If you're looking to change it, we want to know. Please put those down in the comments section if you wouldn't mind. But Matt, let's get straight into it. Let's talk about the flag that we currently have here in the state of Michigan. It's a blue flag. There's, you know, an elk on it, a moose on it. There's Latin phrases on it. So a lot of people, I feel like, maybe don't understand either what's on it or really why it's there. So if you could just kind of go in a little bit about the history behind the state flag of Michigan.
Yeah, so the current flag we have now, you kind of mentioned, it's a dark blue banner, and it has the Michigan state seal on it, which I'm sure many of us would recognize because it's so popular around here, but it's the moose and the elk, an eagle holding an olive branch. There's a little picture of a guy waving, and then two Latin phrases, one that says, "I will defend," and one that says, "If you seek a pleasant peninsula, look about you." So that's the state seal that's been in place for a long time. E pluribus unum is also there. Excuse me, there's a third phrase, so we should include that. The flag as we know it now has been around for over 100 years. It's kind of the third semi-official flag design that the state has had. Interestingly enough, so the first flag was designed by Michigan's first governor just months after Michigan was actually granted statehood. Stevens T. Mason awarded a flag to a militia group in the Detroit area. One side of it included this state coat of arms, which we know today, as well as a soldier and a woman. And then on the other side of the flag was just a portrait of the governor himself, which is just totally bizarre in my mind.
Right.
That he decided to put himself on the flag.
Probably a good thing we have the one we have now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so even though it's not really technically, that wasn't an official flag, it's kind of considered Michigan's first flag. Shortly after the Civil War, a different flag, a second flag, like an actual official flag, was designed. One that had the dark blue that we know today and the state seal. So essentially what we have today, but on the other side, it was the national coat of arms. So that was Michigan's state flag for about 50 years. It wasn't until 1911 when legislators actually moved to adopt having the state seal on both sides of the flag. And that's the flag we know now.
Right, and the story kind of dives a little bit more in depth into this recent sort of push to potentially change the flag into something maybe a little bit more modern, I want to say. The legislation that is expected to be pushed during this legislative session is from State Rep Phil Skaggs, and I do kind of want to get a little bit into why he feels like now's the time to push forward on this effort to get the flag changed. Did he really say anything that kind of explained why he thinks now in 2023 is the right time to do it, over 100 years since it was first adopted?
Right, yeah. Phil Skaggs is a pretty eccentric, animated guy. When I talked to him, he was pretty blunt just about the flag. Really, his main goal, he says, is to create something that can rally the people of Michigan. He believes that the state seal on the flag, well, it's beautiful in its own way. The state seal is meant for, he says, for, you know, podiums for the governor or official state letterhead, that kind of thing. He says, but the flag is for the people. So it should be something that represents our state in a way, and that people all across the state can take pride in and wear with them where they go. He wants to see bumper stickers on cars and hats and those kind of things, so that even when we're traveling across the country, across the world, people are bringing that Michigan pride with them. Changing flags is something that we have seen lately. Skaggs cited Utah as a state that they're in this movement of creating a more modernized state flag. We've also had other examples from down in the South for removing racist imagery out of those state flags. So that's not really what we're dealing with here. It's more of a push towards a modernized flag. But Skaggs believes that if we do that, we can give people of Michigan something to be proud of.
And is he confident at all in this effort? I mean, we've seen it before in the past. I believe in 2016 there was an effort to potentially change it as well, and that did not work out. And we've seen it really across the country, how just the barriers that go into it, and even with stuff like racial imagery on these state seals and flags and everything, it can take years to get it pushed forward. Is Skaggs at all positive in thinking that this is the right time as well?
Yeah, he says there's reason to be positive, so we'll see how that plays out. He mentioned, obviously, we have had, this is not necessarily anything new, similar legislation has been introduced in the past, and I should be clear about the legislation. The bill he is expected to introduce shortly is to launch a commission to come up with a new design, not just to make whatever he thinks should be the flag. It's to launch a commission. Similar bills were introduced, one in 2016 by a fellow Democrat, and again in 2021 by a Republican. The Utah effort was largely Republican push, but also they saw broad bipartisan support there as well. So he hopes that we can capture that energy, because there can be appeal on both sides of the aisle. And really, his selling point for a new design, like he said, is for something that everyone can rally around. It's not really tied one way or the other. He hopes that it can help bring Michiganders together.
Right, and we've seen just a couple of Facebook comments already where people are saying, they don't want to change anything. They want to have the flag stay the same way. But Matt, have you maybe heard from maybe other lawmakers or other people kind of on this subject that maybe think it is time, or that we should be keeping history and just the flag and the way it is the same? We've heard in your story, Representative Skaggs did also kind of mention that he believes that there is bipartisan support in pushing forward this legislation to create that committee that will eventually put forward a new flag design.
Yeah, I think Skaggs is really more committed to having a discussion. And that's what he says. Obviously this is not his top priority. It's not the legislature's top priority by any means. But he believes that if we generate this discussion, people in Michigan will be interested, and this is a potential. We could see an alternative. That being said, a lot of people do have their own ties to the flag, and if they want to see it, that's perfectly acceptable. They're allowed to hold that opinion. I know Skaggs. He said he has gotten some feedback from constituents or people who threw out design ideas. He expects something to incorporate blue and green. Not just because, obviously, Michigan is not only the Great Lakes state, and we're known for our beaches and our water, but also our agriculture and our mountains and our outdoor areas to explore. So something blue and green. It also ties in well with the two, flagship universities. So
Yeah.
You never know. There's a million different things they can come up with.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think it's probably a good idea to have that blue and green just to not irritate the other side one way or the other.
Right. If you're going to have one, you got to have the other.
Exactly.
I think that's pretty safe to say.
Yeah, no. And we're definitely going to be keeping up with this, Matt. I know you're going to be keeping a close eye on whatever happens with this. And again, I do want to push everybody that if you haven't checked out Matt's story yet on this history of the Michigan state flag and the recent push by State Rep Phil Skaggs on possibly getting the work done to create a new one, I highly encourage you to check it out. It is available right now over on our website, woodtv.com. Matt, as always, thank you so much for coming on the live desk today.
Anytime, thank you.
And I want to thank everybody else for tuning in to this latest edition of the Wood TV Live Desk. I'm Phil Penarski, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.